Hey, I'm Dave Hall. I'm the president of the Silent Warrior Foundation. We are fast approaching our annual fundraiser that we do called Whiskey and War Stories. It features a military operation and people that were actually involved in it in a sort of a gala environment where they're on stage and they get interviewed and they tell exactly what happened in their own words. And it's been pretty popular. Last year we did the Sante raid and it was amazing. One of the things that was really cool about that was doing the interviews. A lot of the equipment and special items that were used on the Sante raid actually emerged and popped up at our event, and it was really cool to get to share those experiences. One of the things that we're going to do this year is Operation Eagle Claw. That was the failed attempt to rescue American hostages that were held in Iran from 1970 to January of 1981. And there was some really unique equipment that was made for that. And we've got with us here Corey Brown and Eric Graves from Soldier Systems. And Eric and I had commiserated about, we were just very interested in some of the unique gear, and the one that probably stands out the most is the modified field jacket that the Delta operators used on that mission. So what I have in this box right here, we're going to do the easiest unboxing ever. This is a box of 10 field jackets, olive drab, from Alpha Industries, donated by Alpha through our good friend Cowboy Mike McCartan. And these are new in the wrapper, olive drab M65 field jackets. What we're going to end up doing is taking these and in this box with a Fayetteville return address are some very unique actual items that were used by Delta on Operation Eagle Claw and were present at Desert One. And this is the actual, worn by one of the operators, iconic field jacket. And we're here to share the experience with you of us looking at this. Eric and I approached Corey to see if Corey and his new company, what's your company called?
So my brand is called Bergspitze Customs. It's been around for about 7 years, but it was kind of put on hold while I worked for a main company in the industry, and just recently I decided to jump back into my own operations full time, doing custom work, modifications, then my own product.
So what I've been asked by the operator who donated this is for us to be careful when we open the pockets, because there's still sand from Desert One in these pockets. And as careful as I was, you'll see, I'll show you this unique pouch that's on the back, has a Velcro closure, and I was carefully opening it, and maybe we'll do just a little bit for the camera close-up. When the Velcro pulls apart, you definitely see sand from Desert One. So the jackets started out olive drab. Each guy dyed them with RIT tie-dyed black. And we'll start with the feature that probably everybody's the most familiar with. It looks like the guys did, this is what I think you were talking about, Eric, you thought might have been Nomex material?
Yeah.
So on a lot of the pictures that you see, I'll try to insert some pictures on the video.
That's a real light nylon.
It is, isn't it? So a lot of them you see, it looks like they have rigger's tape covered, and I guess the premise was when they got close to the embassy, they would pull that off. But this was to identify them to the hostages. But look how new that looks. Obviously it's been covered all those years. So this operator opted to have a Velcro closure over it instead of the rigger's tape. But as we've been interviewing the hostages that we're going to have participate in Whiskey and War Stories, kind of showing them this, their eyes just pop when you can imagine them seeing this in the dark of night, seeing an American flag and a dark field jacket coming to save them. It's pretty interesting. Some of the other unique features on this, on the front side, I don't know what these were about. I'm going to have to ask the guy who loaned us the jacket what these tabs were for, so I've
never seen them on a version of it before.
Obviously very purposely, specifically put on here. And other jackets that I've seen images of, this area was often modified to hold M16 magazines. And I've seen some other pouches that were added. And also, a lot of the ones when you see the guys getting on the aircraft, those famous black and white pictures, a lot of them, they had pockets that were on the sleeves. So I kind of expected that there would be pockets on the sleeve of just this one, and I was a little bit surprised when they didn't. So we'll I'll show you the inside. So it really doesn't look like much on the inside, but when we turn it over, you're going to see that this is really a big storage pouch. That's what they modified this to be. And I assume that's probably, they had big evasion maps that were specially made out of a special material. And I think probably so they didn't have to crunch it up and fold it so much. This is probably where, if I were doing that, I probably would put that in there, and I would probably put like my VS17 marker panel maybe. And I know they had some other things like gold bullion and things. That's probably where I would put all my E&E stuff. So now you get a better sense of, there's this, it's a two-part pouch. And Trace, if you want to zoom in right here. This way if any dust comes out, it'll fall back in the pouch. But there was a little bit of wisp of, there's, you can see right there is sand from, that's from Desert One right there. Which is pretty incredible. And then this is pretty interesting. And this will show you how far it goes all the way down to the bottom. And Eric, I'm guessing maybe PVS 5 holder. I don't know. What do you think?
It's possible. You know, it reminds me.
It's a little
kind of
bigger than what's needed for a PVS 5.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of those bags that were made for Sante Raid.
Oh yeah.
Because you have to remember, this is only 9 years after Sante.
Yeah.
And a lot of the same players were involved, and equipment hadn't really improved a whole lot between those, you know, that decade. So there was a lot of stuff you saw at Eagle Claw that is a repetition of what happened in North Vietnam.
You know, it's funny, one of the crossover things when we think of those pictures of the guys getting on the airplane,
Yeah.
that crossover in the gear between Sante and that and this coming into different LBE was you had both the H and the Y suspenders on their load bearing gear. You start to see a little more nylon in there, but still some things that were would have been on the Sante rig as well.
Yeah, so these jackets, at the time, everybody in the Army had a green field jacket, so they took them and dyed them with red dye, like Dave said, to a black color. I've never been told why they did that, and that's one of the questions we can ask during the event. But these were all modified by riggers out at the unit, and they were set up for each guy's mission, whatever that was, and his preference of how he's going to carry his equipment. If you've ever seen the series of photos that were taken at the intermediate staging base in Oman, it shows guys using these field jackets. Some guys wearing just fatigues. Some guys wearing civilian clothes. Some guys were wearing load-bearing systems, Alice or M56 systems. So there's like this wide variety of equipment. Almost everybody though wore a black watch cap. And one of the neat things about the field jacket is that you go through the Middle East even today, men wear field jackets. And almost all the Iranian guards who had taken control of the embassy were wearing field jackets. So it would have allowed guys to blend in a little better. I mean, I can do a little conjecture on why black. All the IRGC guys were wearing green, and they were going to do the operation at night, so there's probably a consideration that they would blend in a little better.
Yeah, might have been a IFF type thing. It's going to be interesting to
I can't wait to hear some of these, you know, some of the reasons for some of these things, like what these tabs are for. I have no idea.
This is interesting to me. We'll figure out what that is and maybe do a follow-up. One of the other things that I heard from the guys why they modified the jackets the way they did is because A and B squadron assaulters, almost every assaulter carried 3 weapon systems. He carried his 1911, he carried either a suppressed or unsuppressed M3 grease gun, and then they carried a CAR-15. And so I guess the grease guns were going to be used for the room clearing portion, and then when they needed to stretch out, maybe have a little more range outside the embassy and getting to the soccer stadium, they felt that a CAR-15 was the better. And interesting, if you look at the pictures of the hostage takers, there's a lot of the Iranian hostage takers carrying grease guns as well. So coincidence. So you mentioned the watch cap.
Yeah.
Original watch cap from this operator.
From this operator.
From Desert One. And I'm going to show a unique feature. And I'll state right now, so we've got 10 of these. We're going to do a bunch of these jackets. We're thinking about doing. We're going to do these 10.
Yep.
And a few of them for ourselves that we're going to commission Corey to do. But for the 10 that we're going to auction off, Corey, if we can find this type of old school glint,
Wow. See if you guys operator initials in it.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
I'll throw in a watch cap modified with the glint square for each of the jackets that we auction off for Whiskey and War Stories.
That is fantastic.
The auction is going to be hosted by Auction Frogs, and we'll put the link in the description of this. So when we start populating the Auction Frogs website with the items, people can go in and look at them. And you don't have to be at the event to partake in the auction. You can do it from anywhere. All right. You guys ready to check out some other stuff here?
Sure. Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
So, I hadn't thought about this, but you know, we saw these with the Santé guys all were wearing these flight gloves, but same style aviator flight gloves, but they dyed these as well. And these were also on the mission. And then this item I thought was kind of interesting. This operator opted to use some of this original desert pattern material and make a scarf for himself.
Oh, like a...
Just, I guess, to keep the crap
Yeah,
out of
that's
here.
really cool.
So, I found a bolt of this stuff, and I've got a bunch of it coming.
So, he kind of like a cravat, like we would have used
Mhm.
back in those days, and so he just made it out of 6-color desert.
Yep.
That is really cool. And so, at the time, there wouldn't have been a lot of this fabric out there. They were just starting to use it a little bit with Rapid Deployment Force. So, that's pretty neat. Might have been a pack cover or something originally.
Yeah, that's sure.
That's cool.
So, maybe I'll include a scarf in those jackets as well.
That's pretty awesome. I didn't even know some of these other artifacts were used on the raid. All you ever see are the jackets and guy in blue jeans and a watch cap, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a pair of gold mountain boots we used to get.
So this is pretty cool right here. So turn it this way. So this is his dog tags, and I'm pretty sure he's got a P38 can opener tied in there too, or taped in there.
put them together? Is that tape?
Tape,
Or it's tape?
tape and a rubber band.
And a
It's
rubber
gotten
band.
all
Oh, he silenced
ratty
them with
over here.
tape? Yeah. Oh, wow.
And he told me, he said that years later he found the dog tags and the watch cap he had forgotten that he had in the pockets
Oh,
of
when
the
he packed
jacket.
everything up
Yeah.
after the operation. Wow.
Now this one is going to blow some people's minds. This is an original unit modified MP5 forearm so that they could turn the light on the weapon. It's a modified M16A1 pistol grip.
I've never seen one of those. Not an MP5 foregrip.
Yeah, slim grip. And they did have a few MP5s on the mission as well. But there are people right now making a pretty good bit of coin, mocking up these things, old school.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So and there's the plug configuration for. Looks like it's almost like a
Instead of a car.
Yeah,
Instead of a car, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like headlights used to hook up like that.
Let's save this one item here for the very last. So this one is another one that's going to start popping heads. Now this vest was not used by the same operator whose other gear we're showing. Another Delta Force operator loaned him, for our purposes, this vest. And this is it's an Air Force survival vest that was modified with magazine pouches, strobe pouch, maybe a little first aid pouch here, and it's got some unique utility pouches on the back. But again, I'm sure if we open that up, there's probably sand down the bottom
Probably.
there.
Yeah, and you'll see a couple of photos of guys using modified survival vests. on that series of photos. But what's interesting is like this, you know, they built this rigger belt and an early like gun belt, right? So 2 pieces of basically an old A7A strap with a early side release buckle.
Let's turn over. Radio pouch. Maybe this was perfect size. I remember when I used these things for the pencil flare kits.
Yep. A radio pouch. Yeah, expandable pouch for the back.
Yep.
And while there were later on some mesh vests built that were used out there and by some other units, you can see the tag on this one that shows that it's an SRU 21P survival vest on the inside. So this has been a dyed vest. It wasn't built by one of the manufacturers in the 80s.
Well, it's interesting to see on this top pouch here how they put 2 lines of loop fastener so that you can cinch it down tight when it's empty, right?
Smart.
So you don't have it flopping around. That's still a technique that's, I mean, it's prevalent in the gear industry today. It's just to double up your Velcro rows.
And then look at the pouch shape. So remember all those pouches with all the vests we used to get where the pocket's sewn on? They're that same shape.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Let's take a look at one of those. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, Parapack construction. It's pretty cool.
You can see it looks like that was all originally OD thread that just took the dye.
Yeah.
All right, now this one I think is really the most interesting, and I hadn't thought about this. So each operator would have had several of these in his pockets. And this was a yellow headband, like a tennis headband with glow tape on it. And this was once you secured a hostage, they put this on their head so they didn't lose track of them while they moved them from the embassy to the soccer stadium.
Right.
And so what was interesting is I went through this stuff on a web conference with 2 of our guys who were hostages for 444 days, 2 of the Marine Guards. And I went through everything in this order, and I saved this for last. And I showed it to them, and I told them what it was. The look on their face was priceless, because you could see they went back and realized those were for us. They should have been wearing those, you know, in April of 1980. And it was really, what I got from them is they were emotional about the level of detail and care that the operators had put into once they closed in on them and got them, keeping them safe. So what I thought would be interesting with these jackets that we're doing is to have a couple tuckaways. So we've got, where we can do a modern remake of this. It fits the motif. It's exactly what they used, and between that and maybe some of the desert scarf material and watch cap and flint, a bunch of little surprises in these pockets.
Yeah, that makes it even cooler.
Yeah. What do you think, Corey? Is there anything on the jacket that's a mission impossible, or does it all look kind of?
Oh, it's definitely possible. I mean, if they could do it then, we can do it now. It's just a matter of figuring it out. It'll be interesting to look at the construction techniques and everything that they used in order to get it done back then. But just the sheer level of ingenuity to take something, you know, made for a completely different, you know, purpose, like a field jacket, and turn it into what they needed to. That still happens today. Guys are modifying their stuff. This was just some of the earliest.
Yeah. So. It's very cool. It's funny because Alpha is still making a pretty good income selling just the original M65 field jackets in various colorways. But, you know, and I think it never fell out of being urban chic, right? I remember seeing Vietnam veterans when I was growing up as a kid, and they always seemed to retain the field jacket and wear it around town. But
well, even my kids would go in my garage and, you know, come up to school and they pull out my old field jackets and wear them in a couple of different patterns.
I think the new thing might be though the dyed eagle claw jacket as urban chic. And one of the things I think that's cool about this, and I hope it comes out on the camera, is this weird hue that it has. You know it's dyed black, but you can kind of see that OD.
Oh, it's
bleeding
greenish.
through.
It's definitely
It's very
green,
greenish
yeah.
black, and
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it super cool.
Absolutely.
All right.
So to summarize, we're going to take, this is a model, and Bergspitze Custom is going to modify 10 jackets from Alpha Industries.
Yep.
And during Whiskey and War Stories, they're going to be put on auction to benefit your charity. So
We have,
pretty
I don't know if
exciting.
we'll have all 10. We have a couple of major donors who've given us some pretty,
Okay.
pretty incredible other auction items that we may.
Okay, yeah.
but
So they're good.
There will be a decent
several,
quantity.
yeah,
There will be several. of them, Yeah.
Several, and not just be one, for sale. So
Mhm.
people are going to be able to get in on this, and there are some different sizes, right?
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
variety of sizes. Yep.
And you'll probably see knockoffs of these probably about 3 or 4 months later. All of those
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Thanks for taking the time. I want to thank S&S Precision for allowing us to use their conference room today. They've been super helpful, and this was just a really cool thing to get together and touch and feel all this stuff and kind of inspect it. And we're going to leave you guys so we can play with this stuff some more and figure out how we're going to get this done. Join us at Whiskey and War Stories.